Hello there. Welcome to Be the Boss of Your Money. My name is Mitch Goldberg. Thank you so much for watching. I know how valuable your time is, and it means a lot to me that you chose to spend some of it with me. This is Be the Boss of Your Money. It's about personal finance, investing. It's about business strategy, the stock market, and so many other related topics. It's all about making you the boss of your money. It's about making you better with your money. It's about getting you to think for yourself about your financial decisions. We all have to do that. We have to do that better. And I am no different than you. So that is those are the main things that we talk about here. So I want to welcome you. We've got a couple of things to talk about. I want to address Bitcoin. As you can imagine, I get asked about Bitcoin all the time. I want to talk to you about beneficiary designations, and I want to talk to you about some of the silly stuff that goes on in Wall Street. This situation involves Elon Musk, a stock called Signal, and how investors are just getting, I think, carried away with buying whatever they can grab in some cases. So let's do this. Let's roll the quick introduction. This is something we do every day. Quick intro, disclaimers, etc. We're going to get into it. I think the Bitcoin could take up a whole session, the Bitcoin topic, but I want you to ask me questions. Please, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. Words of wisdom are always appreciated. And here we go. And we are back. Thank you for watching. I'm Mitch Goldberg. You're watching my live stream. I call it Be the Boss of Your Money. We're going to cover three big topics today. The biggest is Bitcoin. The second biggest is a personal finance topic that has to do with beneficiary designations, because I still see a lot of people who don't know what I am about to tell you. So pay attention. We're going to school today. And the third thing is a stock called Signal that took off, crashed. What happened? What was behind it? I've seen things like this before with Zoom, and I think it definitely needs to be addressed. So we're talking about a couple things here. The market continued its winning ways, got back to its winning ways. Let's do a quick share screen, and then we're going to get into today's lead. All right, so as you can see, the Dow recovered a little bit from yesterday, up 60, S&P up just barely over a point, and the NASDAQ up 36 points. The Russell 2000, the winner of the day, the small cap index, up almost 2%. And the VIX, that's that red rectangle you see. The VIX is the Volatility Index, the fear gauge. And when that goes down, investors feel more confident about the market. And I've been saying, I'd like to see that below 30. Then I wanted to see it below 25. And it stayed below 25 for a while. It went back up to the, mid to high 20s, back into 25. You know what? The reason it's coming in, the market's going higher. I think investors are feeling more confident that there's a getting back to normal trade that has been building up for the last few months. It continues. We have a swearing in and inauguration of a new president. And I think investors are just getting very comfortable with the idea that we're not going to have a contested or more chicanery with politics. Okay. By the way, I just want to bring in all my LinkedIn friends. Okay. So if you're joining us right now, if you're joining us from LinkedIn, I'd like to welcome you as well. This is a live stream. It's Be the Boss of Your Money. We're going to talk about Bitcoin, beneficiary designations, and a Signal, the stock, this weird thing, Signal, which is both a social media app and a stock, and how Elon Musk said, try Signal, and the stock went crazy, which has nothing to do with what he was even talking about. Okay, so let's first talk about Bitcoin. I want to just stop sharing the screen. I want to have a candid conversation about Bitcoin. Bitcoin it's on the tip of everybody's tongue, and a lot of people are involved with it. There's two kinds of people. There's people who have Bitcoin, and then there are people who wish they bought Bitcoin because it's gone up tremendously. It's gone up so much. I remember a couple of years ago, around 2017, the stock started to really take off. The Bitcoin started to take off, and one day it was 4,000 and 5,000. It hit like 20,000, and I remember it was around Christmas time. I was on vacation in sunny southern Florida with the family, visiting my parents, and in a area where there's a lot of seniors, and they're all talking about Bitcoin. It's all anybody could talk about. And they went down all the way down to, I think, 3,000 or 4,000, maybe lower. But it recently hit a couple days ago, 43,000. So the comeback is stunning, and it's back in the news. It's if you look at Google, it's one of the top searches on Google. I'll show you a chart in a minute. So what is behind Bitcoin, and why is it such a big deal, and should you buy it? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the next hot coin that is definitely going to go up like 1,000% really fast. I'm only kidding. I'm not going to give you that. You think I'm going to do that? Like, give you clickbait, pump and dump on the show? Are you crazy? No way. Bitcoin is for people, as far as buying it, I don't know if you'd call it an investment. I don't think you'd even call it a security. And I think regulators are still trying to define exactly what Bitcoin is. But it's a cryptocurrency, and I don't even know if you want to call it a currency. A currency is something that people use as a middle thing to exchange products and services. So if I'm going to pay you $100 to work for me, I have to use a commonly agreed upon or mutually agreed upon currency that you will accept. Like, am I going to pay you in food? Am I going to pay you with a favor, or am I going to pay you with money? You want money, so you could take that money and decide what you want in exchange for the money, not what you want in exchange for me besides the money. Maybe you need to buy gas and food and pay your rent. So you're going to use your money for the basics, right? In that example. The other thing with currency is that the government has mandated that you pay your taxes in dollars. That's a very big thing with currency. As long as the government mandates that you pay your taxes, I want to make sure I've got the mic position properly. I want to talk across the mic to help with the plosive sounds. So I want to show the Shure logo. I love this mic. I'm so happy with it. And so the other thing is the government requires you to pay your taxes with dollars. Like the European governments require you to pay your taxes with euros. If the U.S. government and told the IRS to accept currency in the form of shells, then everybody would be collecting as many shells as they could get, and the price of shells would rise pretty dramatically. We'd all be at the beach looking for shells, right? I mean, being at the beach wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't like 30 degrees outside where I am. But that is what currency is. It's mutually agreed that we will accept a currency. It's actually legal and legal tender and all that. You see what it says on a dollar bill. Any currency, this is legal tender. So is Bitcoin even a currency? If people are willing to exchange Bitcoin for products and services, I guess you could say that's a currency. I mean, could barter be a currency? Hey, I'm going to pay you with products and services that you need, and you're going to do things for me that I need. So that is how it works. Does the government want that? Does the government want to lose control of its currency, of its ability to see it and control the supply? I don't think so. So the reason Bitcoin goes up is twofold. It goes up because investors see it going up, so they automatically think there must be something good, and they went in on it. It goes up. It validates their decision. That's the keyword, validates. So they're satisfied. It went up, and then more investors see it go up, and that becomes a momentum play. I drink a lot of coffee. So if you have any questions, by the way, hit me up, say hello. You could say hello. So that's the thing with Bitcoin. Is it going up because it's valuable, or is it going up because people see it going up and they want in on the action? Now, there's a very big psychological element to any currency. It's just that we believe a particular currency works. But we also know that the dollar is accepted all over the world. And we know that it's the only form of currency that we can use to pay our taxes if you're a U.S. resident. So that's what gives the dollar such, and any country's currency, such strong staying power. But the other reason why Bitcoin goes up is because of the merciless, endless printing of US dollars. Now, if you have dollars in circulation, dollars in the bank, dollar supply, M1, M2, M3, all these ways that we measure the US dollar and how much there is, if there's no limit to how much could be printed, then is the dollar really, is it really looking like this direction? Because I can see the comments coming in, which I love. Is it worth anything? If you can print endless amounts of dollars, what is it worth? Right now, what keeps the dollar worth something, even though the Federal Reserve is printing trillions and trillions of dollars, is because we're issuing IOUs against it. We're paying, we're issuing treasury securities. Those are the IOUs, bonds. So foreigners, investors, US investors as well, they buy the treasury securities. So there's an IOU, and then we get dollars. That's how we grow the dollars. All right. So we keep issuing more and more debt. Could it go on and on and on? As long as the US will pay on its debts, will pay interest and principal, and it's guaranteed. And by the way, the US has the power of the printing press. The Treasury has the power of the printing press. So we could just print money if we owe money. Right now, investors are willing to accept that. But there's a cohort of people in the world who think that if you're going to make the dollar worthless, then I need some other store of value that's finite. The dollar used to be tied to gold, all right, because there was only a finite amount of gold, and gold supply only grew like 1 or 2% annually. All right, the gold standard. All right, but I'm not suggesting we go back to that. If we do go back to that, it would be a disaster. But maybe the dollar has to be tied to some kind of fiscal discipline. If not, then what's my dollars going to be worth? I've worked my whole life. I've accumulated dollars. My stocks are priced in dollars. My home is priced in dollars. But if the dollar is worthless, then my assets aren't really worth much, and I need these assets to live on and to rely on, and for my personal and financial security. So I need to own something else. And it looks like the only thing that's come around, other than silver and gold and maybe palladium and diamonds and other precious metals and jewelry, is cryptocurrency, which is Bitcoin. So that's the argument for Bitcoin. And then you have people like Stanley Druckenmiller and Paul Tudor Jones, who are famous, well-known hedge fund managers, and they are very into Bitcoin, and they give it high price targets. And JP Morgan, an analyst at JP Morgan, came out and said one day this could hit over $160,000 for the price of Bitcoin. A lot has to go right for it, but that is still pretty big upside. It's a huge upside. That's a quadruple from its recent high. Bitcoin has backed off quite a bit from its high, and we'll see what happens. Other people say that Bitcoin is just, the Fed has printed so much money, people don't know where to put it. So they've gotten about as much return as they can get in the stock market. So now they just want to find another place to get a return, and they see Bitcoin going up. And now cryptocurrencies altogether are worth maybe 800. They were up to $1 trillion. Now they're worth maybe $800-900 billion in that range. If these were to disappear, would that have an impact on the rest of the economy, the stock market, $1 trillion vanishing? That's where you start to get into systemic risk that if something were to happen to Bitcoin, would it hurt banks? Would it hurt lending rates? There's a lot that is not understood. A bullish case for Bitcoin that could bring in more buyers just because of supply and demand is if we do come out with exchange traded funds or mutual funds that invest directly in Bitcoin that American investors could purchase. I know there are ETFs for Bitcoin, but as far as for my purposes, regulatory wise, I'm not actually permitted to recommend them, and I'm not permitted to accept unsolicited orders from customers to buy them. So if we could get rid of those rules, I could bring in a lot more people. Let's see who's out there. Thank you very much, everybody. Keith Wilson. Keith is a friend of mine. Keith, you are so good, man. Thank you for joining me. Keith put out a great video this morning on LinkedIn. Follow him. He's terrific. Zechariah Schaefer is coming to us from LinkedIn. Hi, buddy. Thank you so much for joining me. You and I haven't actually had a personal one-on-one conversation, but I'd love to chat with you. Thank you very much for joining me. Joanne, you're out there. I haven't seen you out there. I mean, yeah, we're friends on Facebook and Instagram, but I haven't seen you in the show for a while. Thank you so much. I miss you. Thank you. Joanne says, hi, Mitch. I'm getting antsy about Google and Facebook stocks. I own both. If these mammoth companies get split about because of their monopolistic status, what are your thoughts on them? All right, I'm going to give you my thoughts. It's like such a, I don't know if I'm going to cover all the topics today, but that is a really big question. All right, so I think that the bigger worry for these are if interest rates go up a lot more, a lot quicker. LOL, I'm sorry. It's okay. Listen, you may have better things to do than watch my live stream at 4:30 every Monday through Thursday, right here. Cover all these financial topics, education. Thank you very much. Hey, you know what? The replays go up right after. Okay. Now, thank you very much. Just kidding. I'm glad you joined me, and I appreciate that. So I'm not selling or recommending a sell based on what could be a breakup of these companies from, FTC monopolistic issues. Okay. I think a bigger worry is just that their valuations have gone up and their growth, as good as it is, might not be enough to fill their big shoes in terms of how high their stocks are. The other thing is if interest rates keep going up, you have to start to reevaluate how you value future values, future earnings. Those are to me, the bigger worries for these companies. As far as their businesses go and a breakup, I don't really think they go anywhere. I mean, what could you do to Facebook? Make it spin off Instagram? Make Google, spin off, separate their search business or something? If anything, breaking up these companies could actually bring in more value than what they are. And we've seen this before with lots of companies. We saw this, the biggest example is Microsoft years ago. It's got to be close to 20 years ago. The government was going to break up, or was attempting to fight Microsoft to break it up. They got through it. It definitely was a weight on the stock, but they got through it, and everything worked out okay. That's the clearest example I could give that of history. So if they break up, it might not actually be bad for the stocks. The fight I think would be bad for the stocks, but the end result is either they get through it and they're okay, or they get broken up, in which case investors would have different companies, different shares, different stocks. I hear the argument that these companies like Instagram feeds information into Facebook, and Facebook feeds information into Instagram, and WhatsApp, and it just makes each part of the company bigger and better. Yeah, not symmetry. What's the word I'm looking for? That how they work together, I'll say, is really important to these companies, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's so bad that these stocks have to go down. These stocks are going down now partially because there's a rotation out of the work from home / pandemic / stay at home stocks, that's moving into financials and energy and other economically sensitive stocks. We spoke about yesterday, by the way. I pointed out as undervalued areas in the market, if you're looking to put money to work or take money out of something and put it into something new, are financials and energy. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. To get more granular than that, we definitely would have to speak on the phone, right? Because I don't want to overdo it and hit some stag like I'm recommending. Okay. We have Zechariah. Mitch, you're absolutely right. Part of the value proposition of Bitcoin and other decentralized currencies is that they cannot be changed or manipulated by a central authority. That is huge, by the way, because the dollar, everything, any currency with a government is open to manipulation based on parties that are looking to control, direct, or change something. So that is absolutely true. With Bitcoin, you're on the blockchain, and you can't change the blockchain because everybody could see it. It's all public. All the information is in these little blocks that everybody could see. They all interact with each other. You take something away from one block, it goes directly into another block. It's like matter is neither created nor destroyed, or energy is neither created nor destroyed. It is just transferred to something else. It's kind of the same thing with blockchain. And from Zachariah, all right. Zachariah says, "What do you have to say about ability on the blockchain? And there's other use cases, and it could grow." So a lot of people feel that is, if you're going into another crypto, if you're going to buy crypto for the first time, a lot of people say Ethereum is the one to go to because it's got so many uses for like contracts, buying and selling assets, a home. One day maybe you'll buy a home through the blockchain, and it'll just automatically get sent to somewhere else, where it's supposed to go, without using any intermediaries, no banks involved, no wiring between banks. Wires have to go through the Federal Reserve. None of that. It just goes direct. So that is definitely a use case. It takes out the friction. It's like the ultimate fintech thing is blockchain. And we got Joanna out there. Yes. Gotcha. Thank you for the perspective. You are very welcome. All right. So let's move on to the next topic. I want to talk to you real quick. This is important. I know it's not as exciting. I know this isn't as exciting as Bitcoin, but this is important, and it takes like 30 seconds. Beneficiary designations for your IRA, your 401k, your life insurance. Your beneficiary designation supersedes a will. What does that mean? It means you could leave all of your money to person A in your will. Yeah, you could have this whole glorious estate plan, leave everything to person A. But if your beneficiary designations, IRA, 401k, Roth IRA, life insurance, if those beneficiary designations name person B, then all that money is going to person B. Because the first thing that happens when someone dies is their beneficiary designations come on top. They supersede everything. So you must update your beneficiary designations. This is really important for people who are in a second marriage. This is for people who are married. This is for people who want to decide where their money goes. And, sometimes people get remarried and they haven't changed their beneficiary designation from their ex-spouse to their new spouse. And sometimes people automatically think, I'll just make my wife, my new wife, the beneficiary designation for everything. But when I die, my kids will get some of that. No, your kids are getting nothing. It's all going to whoever the primary beneficiary is. And if that person dies before you, predeceases you, then your secondary, your contingent beneficiaries will come into play. So update your beneficiary designations. And sometimes, you take a married couple, doesn't have to be a married couple. Come on, this is 2021. You take a couple, they have a baby. But sometimes when people are young, you're out of college, you start your 401k plan. Who do you name as your beneficiary? You usually put your parents or your siblings. But then you get married, you have children, and if you die, your money goes to your siblings or other beneficiary designations because you didn't update your beneficiary designations to reflect your new spouse and your children. So this is really important. Just understand that your beneficiary designations supersede. They come before whatever you say in your will or your estate plan. Okay. So that is super important. Yep. Okay. Got that. Okay. Hey, Russell, good to see you, man. Okay. You bet, man. Check those beneficiary designations. If you get divorced, you might want to change your beneficiary designation from an ex-spouse to just your children, or to a trust that will hold the money for your children until they reach a certain age. Do you want kids under 25 to have all your money? What are they going to do with it? Maybe you don't want them to get the money until they're 30 or later, or you want some 30, some 35, et cetera. So make sure you speak with a qualified attorney to do those things, but make sure you change your own beneficiary designations as soon as possible. Okay. Because you never know. And the last thing is something that's a little funky. It's called Signal. I have a chart right here, and I'm just going to do a quick share screen. Okay. This is kind of weird. There's an app, a social media app, and everybody wants to jump in to the new social media app. Everyone jumped into TikTok, and now everybody's trying to jump into a new app called Clubhouse. And similar to Clubhouse, Clubhouse is an audio only social media app where you just jump into Clubhouse. I have it. You talk to people. And there's some very famous people in there, and they all talk to you. It's really incredible. And if people want to start a new chat, it's called starting a room. And then people just jump into your room and you're talking with people. You could talk about a particular topic that you're an expert in, topic to welcome new people to Clubhouse. So Signal is somewhat similar to that. Joanne, I see your question. I'm going to get right to that in 1 second. So Elon Musk, founder of Tesla, now the wealthiest person in the world, said everybody should jump on to Signal. And maybe that was because he's concerned about Twitter and Facebook removing people from their platforms. I'm not really sure what the reason is. It's not my concern here. The concern is that the stock of Signal went from like penny stock status to over $35 immediately, and then plunged almost all the way back down. So people jumped on that stock because he said Signal without doing any work, research, verification. They just jumped on Signal, buy Signal. They thought maybe he was saying buy Signal stock. Same thing happened with Zoom. Zoom technology that we all use for video conferencing, the symbol is ZM, but there's another company called Zoom and the symbol is ZOOM. So people bought Zoom, ZOOM stock. They bought the wrong stock. Lost, it actually went up first, and then people lost money on it when they realized that they were buying the wrong stock. Just a silly thing. And it happens once in a while. So you've got to be careful with that. I want to just check out Joanne's question. So here's Joanne. So if you have a life insurance policy with a current spouse, does that supersede a will that you had before you were married? The answer is if you have a life insurance, if you have a life insurance policy, did I just say insurance? If you have a life insurance policy, the beneficiary designation will be whoever it is. It supersedes. So the answer is yes. So let's say someone gets remarried and the new person you marry has a life insurance policy. If their life insurance policy is their ex-spouse, and that person, the life insurance policy owner, who also the person who's insured dies, the ex-spouse collects the money on the life insurance policy, not you. Okay, so you could have and on the other hand, this person could have a will and leave everything to the library, to the museum. But if the beneficiary designation in their life insurance, their retirement plans leaves you, names you as the primary beneficiary designation, then you're getting that money from those accounts. So that's the way that works. I hope that answers your question. So it's important to know, and again, a qualified attorney would guide you through this process. I think any financial advisor who is worth their salt is going to advise you on these matters. All right, so that's about it. We are just right up to the 30-minute mark. I thank you so much for joining me. I'll be back tomorrow. I really appreciate your time. It is very greatly appreciated by me. And all right, see you tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.